Now, let's remember the box and whiskers. Box and whiskers, guys, are convenient for comparing sets of data. Let's remember this. In order for us to make a box and whiskers, we need a 5-number summary. We need the minimum value, we need Q1, we need the median, we need Q3, and we need the maximum value. Now, if there's any outliers, guys, they need to be plotted outside of the calculated limits. How do we find the calculated limits? Remember that if we take Q1 and subtract 1.5 times the interquartile range, this right here, guys, represents the interquartile range, okay? So if I multiply the interquartile range times 1.5 and I subtract from Q1, that would be the lower limit. If I add to Q3 my 1.5 times the interquartile range, that would give me the upper limit. In other words, any value bigger than that upper limit, it's considered an outlier. Any number smaller than that lower limit, it's considered an outlier. In a box and whiskers, outliers are marked with the stars or the asterisks, right, like this. Remember, guys, that there's no longer a minimum value. If for some reason your minimum is an outlier, now your minimum value or your whisker is going to start at the lower limit. This part right here, from here to here, it represents 25% of your data. The whole box, this part, the whole box, it's 25 and 25, so it's 50% of your data. And this last part, guys, this last whisker, also represents 25% of your data. Okay? Let's take a look at an example where we use box and whiskers. It says data on the shoe sizes of a group of students is shown in the table. So I have shoe sizes 34, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and 49. And these are the amount of females that have these shoe sizes, and these are the amount of males that have these shoe sizes. Okay? The question says, draw a box and whiskers and compare the plots. Indicate whether the plots are symmetrical. Find if there are any outliers, and if there's any outliers, redraw your box and whiskers, indicating the outliers. So, first thing we need is the 5-number summary for females and for the males. Okay? We already know the minimum and the maximum because we can see it right away. The minimum for females, it's 34. The maximum for females, it's 40. The minimum for males, it's 38. And the maximum for males, it's 49. To find Q1, Q2, Q3, guys, remember that we have to find the positions. To find Q1, we do n plus 1 divided by 4. Remember, for Q1, to find Q1, we would have Q1. To find the position, guys, you have to do n plus 1 divided by 4. Okay? So, we have a total of 32 girls, right? If we add 2 plus 2 plus 10 plus 8, there's a total of 32 women or female. So what we have to do, guys, it would be 32 plus 1, 33, divided by 4, it's 8.25. So we would have to take position 8 and position 9. So here I have 2, plus 2 I have 4, plus 10 I have 14. So positions 8 and 9 lie here at the 37. So then that would mean that 37, it's my Q1. Same thing would be for Q2, guys. We would have to do, but now instead of dividing by 4, we would have to divide by 2. So we would do 33 divided by 2, which is 16.5. And so we would have to take positions 16 and positions 17. So from here to here I have 4, and then 10, 14, and then 14 plus 8 is 22, so that means that my Q2 is going to lie in the 38. So Q2 would be 38. And same with the Q3. The Q3, remember that it's 3/4 times n plus 1. So we would have to do 33 times 3/4, and that gives me 24.75. So that means I have to take position 24 and position 25. So you have 2 plus 2, 4 plus 10, 14, plus 8, 22, plus 7, 29. So that means that here at the 39, it's where my position 24 and 25 is. So in this case, 39 would be my Q3 for the females. Okay, that's how we get 34, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Same thing would have to be done for the males. All right, for the males, there are 36 males. If I add all of these, there's a total of 36. I have to do 36 plus 1, 37 divided by 4, 9.25. And so I would have to take positions 9 and positions 10. So position 9 and 10 lies right here because 3 plus 7 is 10. So position 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 lie at the 38. Okay, so 38 would be my Q1. To find Q2, you would have to do 37 divided by 2, which is 18.5. So you take position 18 and position 19. So I have here 3 plus 7, 10, plus 12, 22. So that means that at 39, it's where my Q2 lies. So 39 would be your Q2. And to find your position of Q3, you would have to do 3/4 times 37, which is 27.75. So I need to take positions 27 and 28. And same thing, guys. If I add 3 plus 7, 10, plus 12, 22, plus 9, 31. So that means that positions 27 and 28 are right here. So Q3 would be 40. And that's how I get my 5-number summary. 37, my minimum, 38, 39, and 40, Q1, Q2, and Q3, and 49, my maximum. If I take these guys and graph my box and whiskers, remember that you have to make the scale with a correct scale. So you would have to have 30, 32, 34, 36, or you can do it by 1, however you want, but you have to have a correct scale. On the x-axis, it's the variable of investigation, which in this case, it's the shoe size. And the whiskers indicate the minimum, the maximum, and the box, it's my Q1, my Q2, and my Q3. So this would be for females, and this would be for males. Okay? Now, the question said also to identify if there were outliers. So to find if there's outliers, the first thing that we need is the interquartile range. The interquartile range, it's Q3 minus Q1. So I have to find the interquartile range for females and the interquartile range for males. In this case, it ends up being the same value. It's 2. To find the lower limit, okay, that means that you have to take your Q1, which is your lower quartile, or Q1, and subtract 1.5 times the interquartile range. So that would be my Q1, it's 37. So to 37, I subtract 3, and I get 34. That means that anything below 34, guys, it's an outlier. In this case, there's nothing below 34, so there's no outliers. Same thing would have to be done for the upper limit. I would have to get my upper quartile, which in this case it's 39, and I add 1.5 times my interquartile range. So if I add 39 plus, if I add my 39 plus 3, I get 42. So that means that anything above 42 would be an outlier, which in this case, there's no values above 42. So there are no outliers for the female. Same thing for the male. Your interquartile range ended up being 2. You take your Q1, which is 38. To 38, you subtract 3, and you get 35. Anything smaller than 35 is an outlier, so there's no outliers on the lower part. Then you take your Q3, which is 40. 40 plus 3, 43. anything above 43 is an outlier. So in this case, 49 is an outlier for the males. So that means that I would have to retrace my graph. And this is how it would look. I would have indicated here the outlier, and then my lower limit, or the ending of the whiskers, this would be the upper limit, sorry, the ending of the whiskers would be at 43 because that's the upper limit, okay? And this, you can see the difference between what you would have if you didn't identify the outliers and how it looks if you identify the outliers, okay? And finally, guys, just by looking at the graphs, you can identify that the females, it's more symmetrical than the data for the males. How do I know that, guys? Because most of my data, it's concentrated here. In this case, since there's an outlier, guys, most of my data, it's shifted kind of to the left. So that means that it's slightly positively skewed. Okay, so females are the ones that are more symmetrical.